not alone. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us as we are driving into the Saturday night show, and appreciate you being here. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend, whatever it is you're doing, but thanks for spending part of it right here with us. I think that's wonderful, and I thank you so much. And remember, please subscribe if you're new, hit the bells, share the streams, do all that fun stuff if you would, please. That helps us out a ton. So I just want you to know I'm not here alone. I've got with me the big branch of the family tree himself, Mr. Sheldon Thomas. How you doing?
That's right. I am here, the big branch of the tree. I'm doing good. Feeling good, feeling great. It's getting a little warmer outside, so summer's trying to push back against winter, so we're happy about that. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's been pretty decent here. I'm still obviously dealing with a cold, and it's not horrible. It's just I'm groggy and tired. It's just how I deal with those things. I just kind of shut down and want to sleep, and I did a lot of that today. So, and last night right after the show. So I'm doing okay though, all things considered. I'm doing okay. I couldn't miss doing the portal after all because I love this stuff. I mean, this is what gets me up every morning. That and a 7-year-old. But you know, yeah, just relatively speaking. So anyway, we've got a lot of stuff to go through tonight. Of course, as always, I've got a full package of entertainment lined up for you. We're going to get into another famous UFO report later in the show. We're going to get into some Bigfoot reports, creatures, and some more ghostly phone call stories. So we got a lot of things to get to, but before we go any further, let me just say thank you to our one sponsor that we have. Of course, this is Cryptid Coin, who is cryptocurrency with its heart in cryptid investigation and research. And if you're looking for an alternative investment, maybe this is a good one for you. I know a lot of people are steering away from the normal kind of investing strategies and going for cryptocurrencies. So there's a newer option, and maybe it'll be the right fit for you. So head over to cryptidcoin.io. Again, cryptidcoin.io. It is a subsidiary of Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC. And speaking of them, they've also got a conference coming up on June 17th in Spokane, Washington of next year. And it's going to be at the Spokane Valley Event Center. And there's going to be a whole host of, it's a one-day event, so it's not, multi-days like some conferences. But they do a hell of a job putting it down. Don and I went to one a couple of years ago. But this is their first time back since the whole pandemic thing. So Michael Freeman will be there. That's Paul Freeman's son. Dr. Jeff Meldrum will be there. Ken Gerhard, Tom Seawood, and emceeing by me. I'm going to be emceeing the event as it stands, unless, some life just throws a curveball or something. But that's the plan right now. So hope you'll check it out. Mark your calendar. If you can be there, it'd be great to meet you. And we'll see about getting Sheldon there, too. That would be awesome. So yeah. But anyway, let's get back to what we're doing here. I guess it's time for the news. Sheldon, you ready?
The news always.
It's time for the news. right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. It's time to look at the news. I had to dig into the archives for a few stories tonight, as we've been covering news on Wednesday and Friday as well. So we ran out of new stuff that I thought would be at least somewhat relevant to the show. There's a lot of news out there, but not a lot that we'll cover here on the show. So the first one up is a new one, and I guess this is good because it's at least a good effort in the development of robotics and artificial intelligence. And that is news from unexplained-mysteries.com that robotics firms join commitment to ban weaponization of robots. So there you go. So they're just not going to do it, apparently. However, you got to wonder, like, if it's really an artificial intelligence working there, does it need you to? I mean, could they not think of, hey, if I pick that up, I can shoot people, I mean, this is artificial intelligence, right? So I don't know. I'm not mean to be a naysayer, but it's certainly a concern, I think, of all of us who've seen Terminator or any number of other science fiction movies where the robots don't like us much. So, but let's read what it says. Boston Dynamics has joined several other prominent robotics firms in promising not to weaponize its creations. When you see footage of increasingly advanced robots walking, running, and even jumping just like a human, it's not difficult to imagine future battlefields dominated by agile, intelligent, and heavily armed robotic soldiers or autonomous weapons platforms capable of taking out targets with ease. That was all mostly one breath. I was pretty proud of that. Many science fiction movies, such as The Terminator, depict this idea in devastating detail, leading some to question the wisdom of developing technology that could one day lead us down a similar path. Now, though, leading robotics firm Boston Dynamics has joined a number of other robotics companies in signing an open letter committing to never allowing its creations to be armed with weapons. The move is likely to have been at least partially influenced by the release of footage showing a Russian inventor attempting to strap a submachine gun onto the back of a robotic dog. Oh, no. Yeah. You don't want to play fetch with that one. We pledge that we will not weaponize our advanced mobility general-purpose robots or the software we developed that enables advanced robotics, and we will not support others to do so, the letter says. Well, they won't support it, but if let's say they get 100 million robotic dogs and somebody else decides to mount machine guns to them. We believe that adding weapons to robots that are remotely or autonomously operated, widely available to the public, and capable of navigating to previously inaccessible locations where people live and work, raises new risks of harm and serious ethical issues. While the pledge is certainly encouraging, it doesn't stop third parties from adapting robots, there you go, or writing new software to enable them to carry or shoot weapons. That said, it is likely that there will be considerable increase in efforts by international bodies such as the United Nations to make it illegal to build or use weaponized robots, especially autonomous ones, for any purpose in the years to come. The last thing we want is for something like the T-800 to become a reality. Now, and that's at least cosmetically a good move, I think. But I think what concerns me is that, is this just for civilian accessible machines? Would that still hold true for like special contracts and stuff with, governmental agencies and stuff? And I'm not implying, I don't know what I'm implying. It just seems like there's a lot of loopholes in what they're saying. And it seems hardly binding by any measure, does it?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It doesn't, it's not specific, it's not specific enough what the intent is or the policy behind that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who knows? I think, here's the thing. I don't think anybody enjoys vacuuming. I don't think anybody really loves cleaning windows and dusting and stuff, but we do it because it's part of cleaning things. And, we don't want to live in filthy environments. But, I think there's plenty of room for these systems to be integrated into our society and positively so. But I don't know, always there's some risk to anything new being developed. So I guess we'll just have to see how this all plays out. But you knew it wouldn't be long before somebody mounted a machine gun to one of these things. Jeez.
I mean, either that or buy a robot dog and just strap a bunch of knives to the head.
It just runs into things.
Yes, exactly.
I don't think they're that fast yet. I think, they lope along pretty reasonably, but not like a cheetah or something. So at least not yet. But anyway, curiosity, whatever it is, time will tell. Next one up is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Please support the site, folks. It's a phenomenal site, and they do a hell of a job putting together these articles. And so I encourage you all to check it out. But this is a man got caught, apparently, smuggling 3 live Burmese pythons in his pants. Yeah, man caught smuggling 3 live Burmese pythons in his pants.
Dangerous game.
Did he think they wouldn't check? You got to walk through those scanner things, and don't you think that would show up? What's that weird noodle going down your leg?
Just too many jokes.
Jokes. Officer caught the bungling smuggler with the enormous reptiles. Oh, geez, they were even big. Attached to the inside of his trouser legs. According to reports, the culprit, 36-year-old Calvin Bautista, was arraigned earlier this week and is facing federal charges after officers apprehended him in upstate New York back in 2018. Wow, this has really been a long time. The snakes, which can grow up to 16 feet in length, had been carefully concealed inside his pants. It's difficult to imagine trying to act naturally with multiple giant snakes running down your trousers. Oh, God, that's such an opening. I'll leave it alone. Burmese pythons are considered as an invasive species in the U.S., and it is illegal to bring them into the country. If found guilty, Bautista could face a fine of up to $250,000 and a jail sentence of up to 20 years. The species was first introduced in the Florida Everglades in the 1980s and has since gained a significant foothold, resulting in major decline in raccoons, possum, bobcats, as well as near total disappearance of some rabbit and fox species. Wildlife officials have since spent years attempting to remove the reptiles from the region. Yeah, that's going to be about impossible, though. Once they get a foothold into there, can they find all of them? Even if one litter of eggs remains, that's a whole new infestation. So,
yeah,
that's tragic. And that's some clown going, "I can't take care of you anymore, Jimmy. Go be free." That's what happened. Some clown just went, "I can't take care of you," and put his reptiles out in the swamps so they could live a happy life. I guess. I don't know. I think it's probably good intentions, but bad results.
Sounds like from the prey, they're living very happy lives.
Yeah. Nothing is used to them being there. Like they haven't adapted and evolved in the presence of these big constrictors. So it's like, derp. There goes another one.
No defenses.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to smell them, Sorry, just got to clear. I'm going to have to cough a lot tonight, so just bear with me, folks. But
let me know when you're going to.
We'll let you know what I'm going to know. I know what happens then. We're not going to be doing that. Yeah. So last time we reported about the new badge from U.S. Aviation Intelligence Office, including a UFO, which I thought was really cool. However, looks like they've changed their mind. And that brings us to this report. From unexplainedmysteries.com, U.S. Aviation Intelligence Office removes UFO from its official seal. Oh, man.
Oh, lame.
I know, right? This is from October 7th. That was the cool part of that whole thing. It was like, yeah, finally some recognitions. Finally some acknowledgement that's, we've been seeing things that aren't really ours or anybody's. And, if you're going to be aviation intelligence, you should probably be looking at them. So I don't know why they would remove it, but apparently they did. According to a spokesman, the inclusion of a flying saucer in the official logo for NIMA was actually a mistake.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Eyebrows were raised about 2 weeks ago when it came to light that the official seal for the National Intelligence Manager-Aviation, or NIMA, which depicted 4 different types of aircraft as part of its logo, also featured the distinct image of a flying saucer in the bottom left-hand corner. The image quickly went viral, leaving us to speculate over whether this was some form of official nod to the fact that officials are now taking their duty to investigate UAPs as seriously as suggested by recent developments within the U.S. intelligence community. Now, though, it looks as though the office in question is looking to distance itself from the change, as evidenced by the fact that the logo has completely changed and no longer includes a UFO. Well, they took it from being kind of cool to sucking now. Nice job, guys. According to an official statement, the office had erroneously posted the unofficial and incorrect logo, seemingly confirming the UFO was never meant to be there in the first place. This does raise the question of why the designer was toying with the idea of putting a UFO in the logo at all, and how this particular version managed to end up on the live site. Sadly, we may never know the full story behind this peculiar turn of events. Well, that sucks. I really thought it was cool they were doing that. But
I don't believe it. I don't believe it was a mistake. The amount of hands and eyes had to have seen that logo and being passed from person to person, being approved from person to person.
Right.
That wasn't a mistake.
Oh, I agree. There's absolutely no way that cleared all those levels and was posted live without being absolutely, approved many steps along the way. I mean, it's government. The bureaucracy is maddening. Nobody just has, free license. Here's our new patch. I decided. And it's just some rogue developer. No.
Yeah, come on. I hate it when they treat us and people in general like idiots. Like, oh, sorry, it's just a little mistake.
It's just so. I mean, that's probably the most frustrating thing, and maybe it's just a part of the modern age. But you're right. The amount of baloney that we're fed is just nauseating. Just listen to a press conference by at the White House. And it's like, oh my gosh, and I'm not trying to be political. It's been this way forever. I just think now we're finally aware of how much crap they serve us. And it's absolutely frustrating because, people can handle the truth. Whatever the truth is, people will handle it. I really believe that. But they just, I don't know, they just have a real problem being forthcoming. It's like, I don't know. I'm trying to liken it to something, but it's just like anybody who's had a real good friend that was a liar, and you knew they were a liar, and you knew they were telling you lies, and you just look at them like, you really think I'm stupid,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of insulting, I guess is what it is. It's insulting.
Yes.
So whatever the case, I don't know, but they scrapped the UFO. Now it's just going to be a dumb patch. I would.
But you know what? They can't take it away now. It's been out there. It was published. So they do acknowledge UFOs to some degree, other than what's been released, obviously, by the government. But yeah.
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, there has been some official acknowledgement that there's things in our skies that we don't know what they are, and I'm sure that the knowledge goes far deeper than that on the internal levels. But that's what they're at least willing to share, which I think was a huge step. But and then putting that on the patch, I think, was another huge step. It's like, wow, that's really cool. But anyway, let's continue on here. Next story up. This is a weird one. I don't know. It's a little bit longer, but it's kind of weird. But I thought, well, let's look at this and see what it says from unexplained-mysteries.com. Do the laws of physics prevent us from having genuine free will? Well, I imagine, we can't just fly if we choose to. It's
technically, I guess. We don't have free will, guys.
But let's see what it says. The debate over whether or not we really have freedom to make our own choices has been raging for millennia. Are we free, or are our ancestors, or our actions rather, determined by the laws of physics? And how much free will do we actually want? These questions have troubled philosophers for millennia, and there's still no perfect answers. But it turns out that the character from a children's TV series can provide a clue. Thomas the Tank Engine, despite being a locomotive, behaves like a human. He makes decisions and choices, and is morally responsible when he does something wrong and he gets punished. But look deeper and things become more complicated. He's an engine. Jeez, really? His movements are determined by the shape of the tracks, the workings of his engine, and the employees at the railway. So is his free will just an illusion? Laws of physics explain how the past event results in a future one. For example, if I put a kettle on the hob, the laws of thermodynamics determine that it will boil at a nearby point in the future if I don't interfere with the kettle or the hob. Never heard of a hob before, but it sounds like a UK term. There is only one outcome possible. The water will start boiling. A powerful philosophical argument against free will states that since we cannot change the past and since we cannot change the laws of physics, we cannot change the future either. This is because the future is just a consequence of the past, and the laws of physics dictate that the past will result in the future. The future is not open to alternatives. I don't think it's quite that concrete. I mean, there's certainly some things that are absolutely certain, and that is gravity is going to hold us to the surface of this planet. And when it's cold outside, we're not going to go swimming, probably. Some people still do, even though that's basically a violation of survivability. But they still push themselves beyond it. But anyway, this also applies to us. Our bodies are physical objects made of atoms and molecules governed by the laws of physics. But every decision and action we can take ultimately can be traced back to some initial conditions at the beginning of the universe. We might feel like we have free will, but it's just an illusion. Really. And at the same time, same as the case for Thomas, it might seem to him that he is free, but his actions are decided by the layout of the tracks and the timetable of the railway. See, now this is a misnomer, though, because even if you were on guided tracks, you still can choose your speed. You can choose whether you take a turn somewhere or not. You have the ability to make choice based upon your will. And whether you decide with your will to adhere to what somebody told you to do or decided for you to do or not, there's still choice, which is free will. I think this is taking it to a really extreme level, because in anything, even a prisoner can be free in their mind. They don't have to be caged. They can still dream. They can still create. They can still make choices. And that is free will. Now, some of their choices may be limited, but not all of them. And so it's still free will, even if it is mitigated by external circumstances. So I still think we have free will. I'm sorry. Did you have something to add?
Oh, just like even with their own example, like, yeah, he's always going to be on tracks. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, he can't go forward while being on the ground, so to speak, in the dirt.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just like we have to deal with gravity. We can't just fly everywhere. It's the same kind of idea. So, right. Like you said, it's very extreme the way they're going about it. Yeah,
if they're going to say to have free will, you have to be able. That means you have to be able to choose everything. Well, no. We probably didn't choose to be born that we know of. Maybe we did. There's some ideas that we did. We probably don't choose to consume certain foods, even if they're available. We have the choice. We have choices all the time. And I think the more we understand about ourselves and the universe around us, the more choice we'll have. But we're locked into a chain of ideals, and those are limiting. But I don't think that they're concrete. And so, like, we can't fly. Well, if you get a plane, you can. So you can still have will to fly, but it may not be like Superman, but you can fly. And we may not be able to just blink to another part of the world yet. But in the future, we may have the free will to do that. So I think it's an expanding concept, and they're being really concrete about it. And it suggests a rigidity and predestination, and I don't believe in that at all. So if Thomas' actions are not open to alternatives, why is he told off when he gets things wrong? Well, see, there again, this is kind of garbage. I'm not even going to read the rest of it, because it's really a really extreme look at free will, and it's really not taking into account thousands of possibilities and parts of it, unless you guys really want me to read the rest of it. But I find it's absolutely kind of insulting in a sense. Sure, we have rules. There's the rules of gravity. There's the rules of thermodynamics, and we have to adhere to those. And they do impact our lives. But those are more structural rules to exist.
Yeah,
we have
this article gives me the impression that they're trying to straw man the idea of freedom.
Yeah, it's like so and that's a good point. If they convince us that we really don't have free will, then if they take away choice, will we be less resistant to the idea? So I don't buy this at all. So anyway, I'm moving on, because that article kind of pissed me off. I'm a little scabby when I'm sick.
That's fair. Yep, that's fair.
All right, now we're going to go into the archives. Let me look at the time here. We got 2 minutes. I guess we only got time for one. Let me see which one I want to read. Not that one. I guess the first one is kind of funny. This is not what you'd think. I guess I can read probably a couple of them because they're pretty small. No, I don't want it like that. Let me get it up here. That didn't sound right, sorry. Let me move it over. All right, so this is from unexplained-mysteries.com, and this is from October 8th of 2011 by TK Randall. Police hunt Amish haircutting gang.
Wait, what?
It's an Amish haircutting gang.
Oh my God.
You shall not have beards. A group of Amish men have been breaking into homes in Ohio and cutting off people's hair and beards. The group is believed to be part of the Bergholz clan, led by Bishop Sam Mullet. The attack started around 3 years ago when the gang is thought to consist of 20 to 30 individuals. One victim of the group described being dragged from his house by his beard. Oh, man.
Oh,
I didn't know the Amish were quite that radical. I saw that TV series, like the Amish Mafia or whatever the hell that was, and I was like, no, this is not real. That was so staged and fabricated, but maybe it is a little more real. I don't know if this is implying the Amish like went to other observations like Christian houses and shaved beards, or was it just one clan in the Amish community attacking other clans or something? I don't know, man. That's pretty cutthroat though. Woof.
Yeah.
Don't mess with the Amish, folks. They may ride in buggies, but they got a will. That is creepy. You'll have no beard. I think that is pretty significant to their religion, though, the beard. And I'm not real clear on a lot of Amish observation, but I think it is kind of important. I guess that's about the last one we're going to read, so let's get back to the rest of the show. right, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the second half hour of our show, and there's lots going on. Still a lot to get to. We got to get to the questions of the week, which will be coming up next. However, before that, Jake, who has been with us for a little while now, an incredible supporter of the show, he sent in a story that I want to read. I should have pulled this up over break, but I was clearing my nose holes, so I'm just trying to find it here because I get so many emails. Where is it? Oh, I might have passed it. Did I? No, I didn't pass. I did pass it, yeah. All right. Look. But thank you for doing this, Jake. I'm glad that you came in tonight. I was going to read it last night, but you weren't here, and I thought, I can't do that to Jake. He sent this in. So yeah. Let's get to Jake's story here. This is. He says it's his dad's story, and we'll pull it up on the screen here in just a sec. You can read along with me, but thank you very much, Jake, for doing this. Excuse me. All right, let's see. Put it up on the screen. It says my dad was driving a motorcycle with his friend who was driving a truck. He had one of his many wives on the back of the motorcycle. All right. All of a sudden, a big pickup truck came flying over the ledge right towards him. Well, he braced himself for a, so he thought, really big crash and went through the front of the car. He thought it was just him, but when his friends were white and his wife was crying on the back, for she thought they died. He had proof that it happened. What was creepy? The person driving the car was a red-faced, drunk, crazy person with a face that looked like he wanted to kill my dad. Wow. That's so bizarre, but thank God it was more, I don't know if that's an apparition or what would that be, but because if it looked like it was there, I mean, it was fully manifested, whatever it was, but to phase right through it, I mean, that could be divine intervention. It could be any number of things, but what a profound story. Thank God. Wow. Thank God, Jake. That's pretty amazing. I'm glad it worked out okay, but that must have been terrifying. I mean, I would probably stroke out just from the fact that it was coming, like, you know. And
oh God, yeah. What do you do?
I don't know. I mean, there's no time to react, no time to do anything, except just prepare for the inevitable, and then to not have. I probably would have crashed just because it was coming, and laid it down or whatever. But that's amazing. Wow. Well, I'm glad he's okay. That's an incredible story. I'm floored by that. It's a rare kind of event, but it's very, very cool. And if any of you have stories, please feel free to send them in to paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, or you can call in. The phone lines are open here on the show if you want to share it in person. And the number, of course, is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. It's pinned to the chat in the YouTube chat room. So if you want to call in, there is that option for you guys. But yeah, that's a cool story, man. Very, very,
very well. Very good story, Jake. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those you never hear about very often. They're very rare, but it's neat that people experience that because it does. It seems like some divine intervention, like, oh no, this isn't supposed to happen. We're not going to let this happen. And nice. Even, for whatever reason, it's hard to understand, but just thank God. That's a cool story. So now we're going to talk about the Discord question of the week. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with it, we have a Discord channel, and it has become this really robust community of people sharing stories and talking about some phenomena. And it's been really incredible. You guys are doing a phenomenal job interacting over there. And I would like to spend more time in there, but I'm just sleeping mostly now. But we have started a way for to tie in the Discord community with the live shows here on YouTube, and that is with questions of the week. And so we pose a question dealing with some form of the paranormal or supernatural or Fortean topics, and just to get your guys' take on them. A lot of times it's curious because, I mean, we all bring something new to the table. And like last night's question, every question so far has been amazing, but especially last night's questions, you guys brought up so many incredible points that just were fascinating. And that's why I love the community aspect of it, because it's like a hive mind thinking of something rather than just a mind. And so it gives us the chance to put our thoughts together. And so, Sheldon, do you want to explain? Did you put the link in the chat? Oh, you did.
I did.
Okay. Do you want to explain the question and read the answers, please?
All right. So today's question is, we dream a significant portion of our lives. Do you think dreams could be us having multidimensional experiences, or do you think they are musings of our subconscious? Hexer1 says, it's the brain trying to understand what happened lately or what really concerns us. Anyhow, that's my opinion. From a very psychology standpoint, that's true. Yeah. Gingerpick says, I honestly think it's both. Our subconscious unraveling what's been going on or trying to bring something to our attention. Also, the multidimensional thing from my own experience, there's definitely more going on than just processing the daily grind. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like a mixed answer. Yeah.
Yep.
Batman, no to multidimensional, most likely organizing information. Yeah, that's fair. Rachel 101 says, I think dreams are a multidimensional experience. The brain, which we only partly understand, could have its own way of processing the input of the day. A side effect could be a venting of sorts, like creating a link to another universe, like placing our consciousness temporarily in another lifeline of existence, like our consciousness is a fish placed in another aquarium, while the aquarium the fish lives in is cleaned. Good point. The fish experiences a different world for a time. Then it is put back into its own world / aquarium. Our consciousness is moved either as a useful effect or deliberately placed in another dimension while the brain works on cleaning the day's events or clutter. By useful side effect, it is like yeast in bread dough, creating carbon dioxide. The bread rises, but the CO2 is a byproduct of all the yeast life cycle, perhaps as a side effect. The brain creates the dream / link into the multidimensional as a byproduct of the cleaning / processing the day's events. With that, the brain has evolved along with humanity to have some. But the brain has evolved along with humanity to have a, some would say, a necessary need for life to function. It this way just is because it's gradually happened and it works. Oh, good points. Good points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I personally believe that it could be a mix of both. I think that the weird normal dreams, that's probably your subconscious, but I think those really extraordinary dreams could be something else entirely, something spiritual, something multidimensional. I think that there is a mix of both. What do you think, Dad?
Yeah, I think there's certainly those dreams that are they just seem like nonsense, and maybe they're not. Maybe they're not as nonsensical as we think they are, but here's the thing. I believe that we are part of a multiverse. And it represented in this multiverse are other versions of you. And so we're intrinsically connected to those other universes. And those other universes or dimensions or whatever, you exist. And you are experiencing a life there. And perhaps when we sleep, we're shut off basically in this instance. And as Rachel said, moving to the aquarium, I thought that was a great analogy. Maybe rather than our consciousness going to another reality, maybe we're perceiving that reality because ours is idle or in the state of suspension. And so maybe that's why some dreams are so bizarre and don't really make sense. Like, I remember falling asleep many times and just puzzling over the fact that as I was falling asleep, I started to be in a conversation, and like the conversation was already happening. But as soon as I became aware of it, I knew that I was there and I was talking to people, but it was like different people than I know. But I knew the relationship that I had with all of them, all of the people in the dream. And it was very, very real. Like I just jumped into an existing, something that was ongoing. And so it was like, that really made me puzzle. What the hell is that? Because it wasn't like it started like a book, like, well, the day was growing cold and then the sun was setting and it kind of builds to a story. It was like it was already going on. And so I thought that was really peculiar. Now, could that be a subconscious dialogue that's happening? Sure. But what if it is a multiversal awareness? And so we can experience those. And then we come back, and the other part of it is, since they're different incarnations, different universes, there could be different laws, different translations of the world around them. So that's why maybe you come back and it's like, well, that didn't make any sense, like a tap dancing frog or something like that. But maybe in some other universe, in the multiverse of possibilities, that's an actual phenomenon. Man, that's an actual part of the nature that they experience. So we're interpreting these through our own lens. And I think that is, possibly why dreams seem so foolish and silly, because they don't really translate well to our paradigm of experience in this incarnation. But I don't know.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, like maybe some multidimensional experiences, that's how our brain just deciphers it. It looks, just like you're saying, it looks really weird, but it makes sense there, type of thing. Or just that our brain isn't quite comprehending what's happening. That's a good point.
Batman says, AFK, but listening. I need a Pop-Tart. But Lily Pond in the chat said, I always wondered if deja vu was something we experienced in a dream. And that's a good point. Maybe in this multiverse of possibilities, if that is indeed a thing, maybe that you are re-experiencing something that already happened to another version of you. And so that's where the deja vu comes in. Like, wait a minute, I know this. So is that a bleed through from another aspect of our reality, And that's a great point. So, I mean, those are the weird parts. And that's maybe why this is such an anomaly. This, this whole consciousness thing is because we can only observe it from this incarnation, this experience, this fish tank, like Rachel said. And so we can hardly describe and discern a whole nother version of reality than the one we have. So, that's where it becomes flawed, trying to break that down into a science of sorts, because without understanding those other realities and dimensions, you can't really interpret it in ours to make sense. But
yeah, I mean, when you think about it, if you were to look at all the things that there is to know in all of reality, humans might only know 0.00001% of everything that you could learn.
Batman says that if this is the case, I would like to know what I did to piss off that zombie T-Rex. Well, there could be, in the multiverse of possibilities, there could be zombie T-Rexes. And maybe they just don't like anybody. It wasn't just you. They probably don't get along with anybody. Just, I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Tracy Gale says, I've experienced several dreams that have warned me of future events that would affect me personally.
Sure.
It happened just like I saw in the dream.
Yeah, precognition, yeah. That's very powerful. And that could also be, be an extension of a multiverse, but it's more likely, there is, I think that for things like precognition, I think there is it's kind of like getting a psychic reading. Like, a psychic reading is a snapshot of where you are at that moment and what is coming based upon where you are at that moment. I think you can change anything. We can change anything. So if you get a terrible reading, it's like, well, I don't like that version, so I'm going to change and hopefully create a new one. And precognition could be just being able to see where things are going. And I don't know how it happens. Like, I had precognition, but I was wide awake when it happened. I've had it many times, but one time in particular, I was working at the prison, and I was on the patrol, and I was driving along, and there was some construction going on, but it was after hours. It was like 6 or 7 p.m., but it was the summer, so all the activity had died down on the campus, I guess, for lack of a better term, in the institution. And so I was just driving around, just checking to make sure everything was the way it should be. And as I came by this industrial building complex of several buildings next to each other, I had this vision of this white 1-ton truck flying out from between the buildings going up to, where they were doing construction, which didn't make sense because that should have already been done by that time. But I thought, I got to hit the brakes. So I hit the brakes and slowed down. And as soon as I got up closer to that, sure enough, that truck came out exactly as I had envisioned it. Now, I don't know that it would have killed me, but it would hurt me. That wouldn't have been fun. But it was just the concept that I saw it and then it happened. So it's an experience. Now, I didn't even know anybody was still working on the construction stuff at the time, so I was kind of blown away by it. But I think precognition is really powerful. That could just be a psychic event. but it could be just seeing where things are going. And but how would I account for knowing the truck was coming? I don't know. There's a lot of weirdness in that, but it's a real, very real phenomenon many people experience. So
I agree. Yeah.
Well, good.
Rachel Gets It Right says, I've heard the universe is like a quantum foam. Who's to say that there's not future bubbles that the consciousness doesn't float into and see a future event? One that's in the quantum foam.
Yeah, there's a theory, and I think I'm representing this right, but I read it long ago. So if I'm really bastardizing the terms, forgive me. But I think it's called non-Euclidean space-time, and the idea of non-Euclidean space-time is that time for us is a construct to measure change. But every moment from the beginning of all things to the end of all things is happening in this one infinite now. That's everything. You are being born at this very moment as you're sitting here listening to me and passing from this world in this very moment. But it's our awareness that moves through this space-time. And so, in essence, when you think of things like the psychic phenomena and precognition and stuff, that makes sense because all of those events are happening right in the now. And so maybe it's just a part of our awareness reaching out to another part of the space-time. I don't know, because it's not really a space, it's not really a distance. It's just the idea that universes expand and contract all in the same moment. Now I remember reading a science journal, and they were experimenting making little mini Big Bangs. And they said that they definitely knew that they were doing it, but the problem is that the existence of the thing would happen and then disappear within like a nanosecond. And so they couldn't see. But what happened, what I thought about at that time was, what if within that little universe it went through that non-Euclidean space-time? Like within that experience of that Big Bang, there was entire universes and civilizations rising and falling, and the development of this huge, cultures and races, and then till its ultimate collapse again, and it all for the observers was like that. But
relatively billions of years in a nanosecond, right?
Yeah, billions and billions of years. Yeah. So is that possible? Maybe. I don't know. I'm certainly not like a learned scientific person, but I find it really, really intriguing. And I may just be taking a small piece of information and creating a whole nother narrative that it was never meant to mean, but it seems to make sense to me. So it's kind of just my pet theories, and things I've read as well. So
I like that theory.
Yeah, you never know. I don't know. I mean, when you think of like quantum entanglement, for instance, if you had a proton from a nucleus, if you're able to split a nucleus of an atom and move it to different sides of the galaxy, when you moved one, the other one would move instantaneously, even though it was hundreds of millions of light years in between. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Not with our understanding of the physics. That there's too much space. There needs to be time for that information to travel, but it's still instantaneous, and that's the quantum entanglement. So, very interesting stuff. I don't know. I don't mean to bore you guys. I'm sorry if it's just where's the ghost stuff? Come on. So I apologize.
Going in too sciencey now. Yeah,
I know, but I am fascinated by that. And here's the thing. I think that as our understanding grows, this paranormal will become a lot less paranormal. And it will be normal because we'll have an understanding of the universe and how it works. And then apparitions make sense. And then, interactions with alien species make sense. And Bigfoot makes sense. And all of these other things make sense suddenly because it's our understanding. So, thank you, whoever nailed that one. I appreciate it.
That chat said, please don't block me.
Who did?
That's what that site chatted and said, please don't block me. It wasn't even a link to anything.
Oh, good. Well, yeah. All right. So anyway, nailed it. Well, thanks. Hexer says, you're not boring me, you're horrifying me.
True.
That's awesome. I don't know. I don't mean to do that either. But it is a paranormal show, so maybe that fits. I don't know. So, all right. But thank you to all the people that responded to that. And if you want to be a part of the community over there, follow the link that Sheldon posted in the chat, and you can become part of our chat community on Discord and participate. Did we get more questions? Anybody answer now? No, it's still the same. Okay. I just had to make sure I wasn't clicked off of it. In that same chat, in our Discord server, I did post a video that somebody put up, and I can't really show it to you because it's a Facebook link, and I don't want to stomp on somebody's rights or whatever. But I also don't want to put Facebook up on the screen and have another thing running. But in there, it's in the UFO section, the UFO thread, and it is a video that somebody took. It was on MUFON Global site, but somebody had taken of a UFO passing over the surface of the moon. And I swear to God, it's the first time I've seen a video that looks exactly like what I saw when I was looking through those infrared binoculars. It's exactly like it. Now there are people saying, well, if it's right next to the moon, that thing's miles big, but I don't think it's probably as far away as they're depicting. It's just happening to pass in front of the moon, but it's probably much closer. You know, if you're using a real infinite focal length, everything will be in focus from here to there. You know, you don't get that depth of field, the narrow depth of field, which is a photography term and cinematic term. But anyway, if you go over to that link and check it out, if you have Facebook, you'll have, you can probably look at it. But it is exactly, really exactly like what I saw. It has the band going around the saucer, and you can see that there's, hard to see, but to me, I can see like the panels that I saw that were flashing around it. And I don't, obviously I don't think it's the very same one, but it's really the first time I've seen one that was like, oh my God, that's what I saw. Cause I've looked at charts and other witness reports and, depictions of it. And it's like, well, that's not really what I saw. So, I was excited about that. So I posted it on the UFO thread in our Discord. If you're interested in seeing that, check it out. My chat locked up and wouldn't scroll. Oh, are you better now?
It's actually a really impressive video. I just watched it.
Yeah, it really is. I think, and again, is it for sure real? No, I don't know that, but it looks real. It looks like it's, like a number of other videos out there that seem to be pretty convincing. But, anytime you see something online, it's a leap of faith because, chances are there's somebody just, creating stuff and being a pain. But anyway, I saw someone mention Sliders in Discord. I loved that show when I was a kid. Yeah, I remember Sliders too. That was kind of cool.
What is that show? I've seen it twice.
I think it's like people sliding through dimensions, basically, and that's where the term sliders came in. And so they would have all these adventures and different versions of Earth. I think is, if I'm recalling correctly, but it's, I didn't watch it religiously. I just watched it a few times, but I thought it was a good show back in the day. So now let's jump over to some more of the paranormal fun that we love here. How are we doing for time? 2 minutes? God, not really time for anything. I guess we'll probably just go to the break and then bring up some more on the other side. But also, I just want to let you guys know, I don't talk about it probably enough here on the show, but we have a podcast, if you're not familiar with it. And it is also called Paranormal Portal, but it's not what you're watching now. It's an entirely different production, audio only. And it's interviews with people who have had experiences. There's some content shows where, I discuss different phenomena or read viewer letters and listener letters, emails and stuff. And so you can find that on all the major platforms: Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Castbox, Podbean, etc. So there's a lot of platforms that we're on. And we'd love your support there too. And the nice thing about those is that if you have Spotify or whatever, you can download it and listen at your leisure or whatever. But we'd appreciate you checking it out. And again, it's not the same thing as you're watching. A lot of people say, "Hey, I checked out your podcast on YouTube," and it's like, "No, this isn't really our quote unquote podcast." I know a lot of people say that their YouTube channel is a podcast, and it's because they just take the same thing that they're doing video and just put it over on podcast platforms. But our podcasts are truly unique. There's times when we take YouTube episodes and put them over on the podcast, but Generally speaking, they are entirely different shows than what you're watching here. And they're about 45 minutes to an hour long, generally. So hope you guys enjoy it. Brent, isn't there a performance SPE for night vision in order to see UFOs? I don't know. A performance spec? I don't know. The one I saw was through Generation 1. It was Generation 1 night vision binoculars. So I don't know if the other generations, there are reports of people seeing stuff in those or not. But mine were first generation. So, and that's the pair that I bought after I had the experience of seeing the UFO, which was not visible with my eyes, but it was through the infrared, the IR Generation 1. Crazy stuff. All right, folks, we're going to go to the break. Don't go away. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes for more of the Paranormal Portal, including UFO report. So we'll be right back.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
From which they cannot wake.
Wrong button.
I can see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
All right, everybody, we're back. Hour number 2 is now upon us, and got a lot of paranormal to go through here, so hope you're ready. Boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom. All right.
There we go.
Is that a little long?
It's a little long this time.
Really?
I don't know.
I don't know. I should probably do some new bumpers and stuff. I've been using those for about 5 years now. I don't know. It's all the to-do list is just growing so big, and that and just keeping up with life in general is always a challenge. But I just don't feel real great now, so I'm not real productive.
That's okay.
Yeah, everybody needs some time, I guess, right? I see we lost the phone lines there for a while, but I reconnected them. I don't know when it dropped, but the phones are reconnected. If any of you have experiences of your own, you want to call in and be a part of the show, by all means, do so. 720-923-0500 are the numbers for fun right here on the Paranormal Portal. So if you call, transitions are awesome. Thank you, Haxer. I appreciate that, brother. I don't know. They're getting a little dated, though. I'm glad that they're not like wearing thin on you guys. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Definitely not.
All right. So first off, what was I going to do first? Here we go. I wanted to talk about another really pretty well-known UFO experience, and this one comes out of the UK, and it had to do with a policeman being alien abducted. Well, I guess alien is kind of implied with the UFO, but it's really a pretty bizarre encounter. I heard about it years and years ago, but I found this article for tonight, and I thought it'd be a fun one to discuss because I think they're, obviously the Betty and Barney Hill report is incredibly revered in the UFO community. Is probably one of the first tellings of on a broad scale of an abduction scenario where two people were abducted and shown things and experienced things and came back. And so this is another one of those. I don't know if it's as well known as Betty and Barney Hill. I don't know if any abduction other than Travis Walton's is as well known as this. But let's see what this one says. For any of you that are new to this, we'll get into it. This is coming from howandwise.com. Hold on, I got a cough. I shouldn't have told you. I forgot. You jerk. Yeah, jerk. You wait till you're sick.
Fair enough.
All right. So, policeman Alan Godfrey's alien abduction is UK's most famous UFO encounter. Again, from howandwise.com. You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Where is it? I got to figure out where it is here. Display capture. That's this one. I'm going to move it up. Move it up in the list to right about here. Oops. Well, that didn't go well. That didn't age very well.
Oh,
What the hell did I do? All I did was move it. Oh, I put it in the wrong place. That's why. There we go. There. Now it's perfect. I put it in your window instead. It covered
fine.
your face. So my apologies. All right. Policeman Alan Godfrey's alien abduction is UK's most famous UFO encounter. During the last months of 1980, the British police observed several UFO sightings on the east coast of England. Young policeman Alan Godfrey's case became the UK's most famous UFO encounter that attracted investigators around the world. Again, this is written by Vicky Verma, who wrote the one that we read last night as well. I don't know if it's going to get real redundant, but the one we read last night was just like she kept like revisiting the article, the paragraph before, and then adding a couple sentences, and then revisiting the paragraph and adding a couple sentences. So it's like she really fleshes out these articles incredibly, and it gets really redundant. But anyway, let's continue. The story took place on the evening of November 28th, 1980, when Alan Godfrey was patrolling the outskirts of Todmorden, West Yorkshire, England. It was a rainy night, and Godfrey was driving his car along Burnley Road looking for a herd of cows that had gone missing. And it's no wonder they're not on cops over there. Sorry, that was funny in my head. When you're a police officer, your big case is finding some cows. It's like, yeah, you're probably not going to make cops that way. Moreover, Godfrey wondered how the cows managed to disappear without leaving any traces, as there was no sign of any cow. At 5 a.m., he decided to go to Todmorden Town Center before ending his shift. He saw another policeman going on foot and offered him a lift, but the man turned down his offer. Godfrey wanted to have him as a witness of what happened that night. While he was heading towards his police station to end his shift, he encountered something very strange that changed his life. And at first, Godfrey thought that a bus was approaching him, carrying workers from the city to the surrounding villages. But when he came closer to the object, it was nothing like a bus. It was completely blocking the main road, a huge metal object hanging in the air about 5 feet off the ground. It was diamond-shaped, about 20 feet wide and 14 feet high, with what appeared to be dark paneling across the upper top third. My headlights were shining off the side, and if I'd gotten out of the car and thrown a brick at it, it would have gone bang, meaning you're close. Okay, we got it. Godfrey stopped his car and took a chance to get near the object. He threw a brick on it so that he could bang. That's some great investigative work there, buddy.
Come on.
Throw a brick at it. Well, he kind of had it coming then if he got abducted.
Yeah, come on.
He described the bottom of the UFO was spinning in an anti-clockwise direction, kicking up dirt and leaves underneath it. And there's a picture for those of you on YouTube. You can see it's very rudimentary, but looks like a top, like a classic top without the top or bottom peg. So he tried to radio the control room, but it turned out that the signals were jammed. The policeman took a sketch pad and pencil to draw the scene as evidence, but at that moment, a bright light flashed and blinded him for a moment. The next thing Godfrey remembered was driving his car along Burnley Road, and the UFO was gone. Besides his sketch pad where he had drawn, the UFO had also disappeared. No, wait. Besides his sketch pad where he had drawn the UFO also disappeared. Yeah, so like they took the evidence or whatever. I was about 100 yards on the side of where the thing had been hovering, he claimed. Godfrey turned around and drove back. He noticed the area above which the UFO had been hovering was completely dry. The road surface beneath it was bone dry. Everything else was glistening from earlier downpour. When he got to the police station, he checked his watch and realized that 15 minutes had fallen out of his memory. Missing time. Later, the policeman found out that he was not the only one who had witnessed the UFO. On his next shift, he was called by his inspector, who revealed that 3 policemen who had been looking for a motorcycle stolen from Halifax in the Calder Valley swamps was reported a blue and white glow descending in Todmorden. In 2014, a bus driver named Bob Costas also shared a similar story. He was there at the same place where Godfrey witnessed the UFO at 4:55 a.m. So that was in 2014. Huh. Maybe does it sound like they're visiting that place a bunch, though? Is it a secret alien base around there? At first, the policeman doubted whether he should file an official report on what had happened. The other policeman in the station even joked about his encounter and called him Captain Kirk. That's awesome support. Jeez. As he reported the incident, the other police officer shared the information with the local newspaper, and it grabbed the attention of the former director of the British UFO Research Association named Jenny Randalls. Upon the investigation, Randalls found out that there were scratches on Godfrey's boots, as if the unconscious policeman was being dragged somewhere. But he could not remember anything. Blurred memories, signs of an alien abduction, and then I think he was encouraged to undertake several hypnotic regression sessions conducted by two professors from Manchester. Godfrey said that as soon as the lights came on, the police radio crackled with static electricity and the car engine stalled. Then the radiance became dazzling and he passed out. Oh, he wrote a book apparently. Who or What Were They? By Alan Godfrey. Okay. Upon regaining consciousness, he found himself in the spaceship where he met a strange biblical man. He said that along with the I think it's bearded, not beaded, but maybe beaded, there was a group of stunted creatures the size of children with huge heads. Most likely they were robots. After the hypnosis session, the policeman frankly said that he was sure that aliens had abducted him, but he does not know if memories were genuine or if he saw a distorted reality, for example, under the influence of some alien anesthesia. The government ridiculed Alan Godfrey's story, and scientists said that it had been not a UFO, but an unidentified aerial phenomena. Well, what the hell's the difference?
Oh my God.
Okay.
The technicalities. Okay.
Unidentified flying object or unidentified aerial phenomena. Does it matter? Like, that's what they're going to hang their hat on? Well, it's not a UFO. It was a UAP.
Wow.
Dumb. This assumption partly explains the testimony of other abductees who repeatedly noticed that the inside of the flying saucer seemed much larger than the outside. Sounds like Doctor Who. And it is completely incomprehensible how large rooms could fit in it. In fact, people were not delivered to the ship itself, but somewhere else. So they were kind of phased out and up. In addition, many people assume that this story is the classic example that alien humanoids, gray or green, short men with large heads and black eyes, are nothing more than biorobots. Well, I've heard it suggested that they are the little grays might be an engineered race, kind of like drones, like ants or of a sort. Like they're intelligent and self-aware, but that they are at the whim of whatever controls them. I guess it could be. I don't know.
Kind of like a different kind of instinct for them.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. But whatever they are, I guess he drew a picture of the bearded man here on the chalkboard of what he saw. Now, I don't know. I don't know about regression hypnosis. I don't know how accurate it is. I know a lot of people use that, especially in terms of recovering lost memories from abduction scenarios. But you got to wonder if those events are so psychologically traumatic, maybe it's not a wiped memory as much as it is just a shock. Like there's many people who experience tragic things in their life and they block them out. It's just blocked out. And it's a very psychological response to, some incredible, horrible stimuli that you just don't want to recall. And it's like those days or years are missing from their lives, And I don't think that they were abducted and memory wiped, but, could that be the case for this? Well, I guess so, sure. It does seem consistent with a whole bunch of other reports of people being abducted and obviously not retaining memory of the events, but somehow later in reverse regression hypnosis, they can recall what they couldn't bring to their conscious mind before.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you do regression, Sheldon, if you got abducted?
Yeah, I would. I mean, more pieces to the puzzle. If it can unlock those pieces that might be hidden, either by my own will or otherwise, then yeah, absolutely. Sure.
And I understand that. I don't disagree with it. But I also think that, you can't unsee that then. Once you recall it, then you have to live with it. And
that's fine with me.
Really? Okay. Yeah. But maybe.
Well, in the paranormal case, yeah. I mean, the more I can, even if it's scary or unsettling, I think it's better to know the truth than to hide from it and act like it's not real type of thing.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I wonder how accurate it is, if regression hypnosis is really that accurate or not. I've heard arguments both ways, and I don't know. I'm not a hypnotist, so I don't really know. It's curious, though. But
Yeah, very.
there's another really famous case out of the U.S., out of the U.K. where a man was abducted and went missing for a while, and I believe he was a law enforcement officer as well, but I could be wrong. But he was found like 3 days later or other days later, like lying naked on a pile of debris near where he disappeared. And it looked like he had some kind of weird salve on him, like he had become injured somehow, and like they were trying to heal him. And then, he didn't make it, so they just dropped him off. Yeah, that's a lot more tragic, of course. This guy was fine, I guess, enough to write a book about his experience. And it looks like a pretty substantial book, if this is the paperback, and it looks that thick. I don't know, maybe he's just got the leaves, the pages open a little, but it looks like he had a lot to say about it. It's funny, out of such a limited experience, and who knows what else he experienced that didn't fit into this article. But you look at a book like that, and it's like, my God, I could tell my life story in there.
Yeah, really.
So how much did he have to say? I don't know. But it's a really interesting case.
It's just 5 pages.
Yeah. I was born, went to school, then I graduated. The end. I don't know. It's anybody's guess. But I think that's a... go ahead.
On another topic, Haxer1 said that you guys should do a show on the Dodleston messages. Do you know what that is?
Let me see how it's spelled. Where did he say that?
Dodleston?
Dodleston? No, the name isn't familiar. Yeah, I mean, if I guess I can Google it and learn more about it, but that's always a possibility. If you guys have suggestions of stuff you'd like to see covered on the show, I'm happy to, hear that and hear your suggestions. I try to bring, in each show, I try to bring something of everything, some ghost stuff, some UFO stuff, some, other stuff. But, yeah, I'm perfectly good with covering other phenomena. Where in the hell did that go? No, it's here. There we go. All right, so next up, I want to go, we got about 8 minutes left, and there's an article that it's kind of the tail end of the article that we read last night, dealing with the guy who was in the train accident, and he was killed instantly in the train accident, but for several hours after the event, his phone called all of his loved ones, and when people answered, they only could hear static. But they figured he was reaching out, telling him, that he made it, and so they were really hopeful. But when they found him, they realized he couldn't have made those calls. And it was like 30-some calls that he made after he had already passed away. So a very strange phenomena, but we're going to get into more of those. And again, this is from ranker.com. Excuse me. The Graveyard.
I'll be on the lookout. Hexer's going to call about it.
Oh, okay. Let's read this one. Phone calls from deceased people who apparently happen so often that a study was done in the late 70s. Intrigued by many stories of people receiving phone calls from the deceased, Psy investigators D. Scott Rogo and Raymond Bayless did research and published a book about their findings in 1979. Their research has recently been continued by another paranormal researcher, Callum Cooper, and this one is A Girl Tells a Story About Talking to Her Friend's Deceased Grandmother on the Phone. While some people have reported seeing the name or number of a deceased acquaintance appear on their caller ID, others claim to have spoken to someone they later discover passed away before the call was made. According to a list of true accounts by paranormal researchers, someone named Crystal S. shared, I was at my mom's house and I was calling a friend who lived nearby. She was at her cousin's house, so I looked up the number in the phone book, and it was the only Owens in the phone book, so I knew it was my friend's cousin's number. I called it and it didn't even ring, but an old lady answered and said, hello? And I asked, is Amelia there? Amelia is my friend Jessica's cousin. The old lady said, no, dear, Amelia isn't here. I should be expecting her any minute now. So I thought nothing of it and hung up. I told Jessica about it, and she said, Amelia's grandma is dead. And we were there all day long. we were sitting right by the phone. It never rang all day. That's kind of creepy.
God.
God.
Any minute now, too, part of it.
Yeah. All right. We got a phone call here, so let's take this. And we'll see what's going on. This is area code 417. You're on the air. Hello?
Well, hello there.
Well, hello there. Is this Haxer?
Oh, hello.
It's the Haxer, yes.
How you doing, brother?
Pretty good, man. So you guys don't know about the Donaldson effect?
No, I don't believe I've heard it.
Okay, well, I'll just give you the wide brushstrokes of it so you guys can dig into it yourself.
Okay.
Basically, in the 1980s, a guy owned a place in England, and it was the Donaldson house, and they borrowed a computer from the local college.
Mm-hmm.
And they set it up, and they kind of just, this was before networking or anything special.
Sure.
But apparently they hooked it up to the network of the school, and they got a message from somewhere.
Ooh.
And they didn't know where the message was from. But apparently it was from someone back in time.
Oh, wow.
And he would say, oh, hello. True are the nightmares of a person that fears. Safe are the bodies of a silent world. Turn, pretty flower, turn towards the sun, for you shall grow and sow. If the flower reaches too high and withers in the burning light, get out your bricks. Pussycat, pussycat, went to London to seek fame and fortune. Faith must not be lost, for this shall be your redeemer.
Wow.
Now, the students go, what in the mother heck?
Yeah.
Anyway, they start taking it to the local college and checking it with the language people and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently this guy knew a lot more about the school than the school knew about itself.
Wow. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, so that's the Donaldson messages, and there's a lot more to that, but basically it was early computing in England,
Mm-hmm.
and how did they get into that weird vortex?
Right. Yeah, that is strange. That's really a cool story. I'm going to have to look into that, brother. Thank you.
You betcha. Well, anyway, have a good one, guys.
All right. Thanks for the info.
you, Haxer.
Appreciate it, brother.
See you, buddy.
All right. Good night. Wow.
Got a
Donaldson.
good teaser. I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, that was really actually extraordinarily well done.
Yeah.
He's got me sitting on the
job,
edge of my
Haxer.
seat. Nice job. I'm like, what happens next? I have to read the book. But no, that's awesome. It is very strange. Time anomalies, why not on technology, Of course, the whole John Teeter story is kind of bizarre too, but I'm not sure if I buy the John Teeter story, to be honest with you. I think that's
Now, for those who don't know, aka me, what is the John Teeterson story?
John Titor, Titor.
Or
So basically,
Teeter.
he was allegedly a time traveler that came back in time because he was from some distant point in the future where civilization had kind of collapsed, and he had to come back in time to find a computer or a piece of a computer that they needed in the future. And so he did that and told this whole tale of what's going to happen in the future and all of that. And I guess it appeared on like a 4chan or some one of those message boards years and years and years ago. But, it was kind of an enigma, an anomaly, but he gave dates and times for things that were supposed to happen. And I think most of those have come and went without much fanfare. So apparently the guy resurfaced more recently, and I don't know if he was really impressed many people, or at least someone claiming to be him, because apparently he was stuck back in our time now, wasn't able to go back to his own time, but had secured the part for the future to find it, I guess. I don't know. Just a strange conundrum of sorts, but it's weird. Is there time travelers? Maybe. I think it's possible. I think what happens is whatever we can imagine is probably possible in some way. We just have to grow in our knowledge to make it happen. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but I think that's, the way that all of this works is that it takes, the vision of somebody to imagine it, and then the conviction of them to make it real. So,
Good point.
I mean, if you went back to, back to the old times, even the 1940s, and said, someday people are going to be walking around with supercomputers in their hands. Be like, first of all, what's a computer? And then second of all, how? It would look like sorcery, even in the 50s or 60s or 70s. And a lot of what we have today would look like, magic, like we were, from some super cool future. But
Yeah, true.
things that we take for granted and are very mundane to us become fantastical. But we'll continue with this, and we'll get into some Bigfoot reports after the next break, which is just in about 20 seconds or so. I got to cough. Oh, shoot. Never mind. I'm not going to cough. I'm not going to do it. No, it's not happening. I'm going to deal with this until the break.
Fine.
No, not going to do it.
Got a cough.
Nope.
Got a cough.
I don't. Just got to clear my throat. I'm good. So,
Bigfoot again.
no, I'm good. We're going to get into the Bigfoot reports when we come back. I think we'll read one or two more of these from the Graveyard Shift article about these ghostly phone calls, because I think it's a fascinating phenomena, and one of those that really intrigues me a lot, because it is possibly a connection to the other side. So we'll be right back, folks. Don't go away.
Don't mistake movement for achievement. Boy, it's easy to get faked out by being busy. The key is not just being busy, the key is doing what? So, we look at results to see if there may be some difficulty with activity, because it takes activity to bring enterprise into being. There's a whole study here on activity. Activity is like birth pains. It ain't easy, but see, it wasn't meant to be easy. Values were meant to be costly. The only way we can appreciate a value is by its cost. If it doesn't cost much, we probably wouldn't call it valuable. True winning is a great worth, but the price is to play with all your heart and mind, and perhaps do some losing sometimes, so that when you do win, boy, the worth and the value of the winning now becomes a high appreciation, simply because now we understand both sides of this equation, price and promise.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Do you have any of these symptoms? Night cramps in the hands and feet. Your arms and legs often go to sleep. On short walks, do your legs get aches and pains? Is your memory worse than it used to be? Ankles that swell late in the day? Has your blood pressure increased lately? If you answered yes to even one of these questions, you may have early warning signs of arterial blockages. Your body is saying that it is time to take Extendivite. These are not the normal signs of aging. They are the warning signs that accompany blocked arteries. Get your Extendivite today. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Hey everyone, it's Mark Sargent of Strange World, broadcasting live every Tuesday evening, 10 to 12 Eastern, 7 to 9 Pacific, right here on True Frequency Radio. Strange World covers a wide range of topics, from enclosed world theory to lunar waves to the end of the world in film. It's basically doomsday with a silver lining. When the audience is my co-host, we take an optimistic approach to all things conspiracy and promote confidence, hope, and humor whenever possible. If there's a topic you want us to cover or a guest you would like to see, please email me at msargent23@comcast.net. So please join me and tell your friends about Truth Frequency Radio, the leader in real radio programming, bringing you quality, cutting-edge broadcasts from around the world.
You're listening to the True Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, last half hour, home run. The home plate is waiting for us. Oh, man. Shelton, talk for a second.
Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. Working?
Yeah, the point was for you to keep talking because I had to blow my nose.
Oh! Hi,
everyone.
everyone. How are we doing tonight?
Didn't need an audio test. I needed you to cover for me.
Technically, I did.
Yeah, for about 2 seconds. Hello, is this thing working? Well, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Carrie. I appreciate that. All right. So we were going through an article dealing with ghostly phone calls, and I think these are fascinating because they do seem to suggest that maybe ghostly presences can utilize electronics, at least to some degree. Of course, accounts of paranormal activity always seem to include lights and devices coming on and off, and weird changes in the behavior of electronics in a paranormal presence. So maybe by virtue of being an energetic being, they can interact with electronics quite easily. So the next one I'm going to read is, again, from this ranker.com article. And it is... See, I'm not going to announce it anymore, Sheldon.
Dang it!
Yeah, not going to happen. I've learned my lesson. A saleswoman had a phone conversation with a man's deceased wife. In another anecdote from the same list, a salesperson named Mary B. remembers, I made a sales call to Pennsylvania, and I started just like any other call. Yes, I need to speak to Mr. or Mrs. And then the woman identified herself as Mrs., and I continued on with the normal sales call. And she seemed very interested and asked a lot of questions, but when it came to the decision-making, she quickly stopped me, insisting that I had to talk to her husband. Her objections were the same every time I attempted to close. She also quickly pointed out that since his retirement, he spent a great deal of time fishing and was not easy to get in touch with, and it would be best to try early in the morning before he left for his favorite hobby. On the call back, the husband did answer the phone. I introduced myself in the normal fashion and explained to him that I'd been talking to his wife the previous day, and she'd suggested that I speak to him. You can imagine the shock and horror when he stated to me, distraught, Lady, I don't know who you're talking to, but my wife died, and I'm not in any mood to speak to anyone. With that, he quickly hung up the phone. That's incredible. So it sounds like this prolonged dialogue that she had with this ghostly presence.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? So, like, was she simply waiting? I mean, so there's a belief that, when people are together or married or for whatever, people that when a loved one dies, that they may choose not to cross over, but instead to linger until the other person's ready to, to join them, and then they will cross over together. Is that maybe the case here, where this woman was still there, being the missus, but, she was able to talk on the phone. You wonder if she did that to other people. There we go.
Maybe that's why the strong reaction.
Yeah, exactly. So I love those reports because I think that they're absolutely fascinating, and they really do inspire a lot of thoughts like, what's going on here? But it's incredible stuff. And I think if it's too bad that it wasn't more directional. Like you could choose to call someone that passed away and just choose to have a discussion. Well, how you doing? Are you okay? What's going on? I mean, what's it like? That kind of thing. And how powerful would that be? And maybe someday we'll be able to. Who knows? If we ever crack this paranormal code or whatever, then maybe we'll be able to have those discussions. But I don't know. It's kind of cool that they happen anyway, even, as just a phenomena of its own. All right, let's close that and get to the Bigfoot reports, folks. I've got this site is squatchalberta.com, and these are some Bigfoot reports of some encounters or experiences up in Alberta, and then we're going to go to Phantoms and Monsters to close the show. But this one is ASO report number 047, childhood visual sighting of a Sasquatch. And see what it says. This is from June 7th, 2018, again by Alberta Sasquatch, from their sightings reports. is a visual sighting reported by Bruce C. Location of encounter was Strathcona Park, Medicine Hat. Date and time was actually 1972. Wow. I was 3 then. And looks like September 26th. August 26th. Okay. At 1 p.m. And the details of the event were, I first started reading about Sasquatch in 1972 after my first encounter. I was born in Calgary, and at about once a month, we would go to Banff, Kananaskis, or Bragg Creek to go camping. Well, I got used to seeing bats and other wildlife at a young age, and on the last weekend of August 1972, we went to Medicine Hat to visit friends. On Saturday the 26th, we went to have a picnic at around 10:30 a.m. in Strathcona Park. We started a fire and then went down to the South Saskatchewan River to swim and play in the water. It was sunny and warm with no wind, and at about 1, it was decided that we would make our way down the winding path to our campsite, which was about 150 yards. Eager to get a hot dog on a stick, I ran ahead of everyone else. About 75 yards down the path, I was jogging when I suddenly smelled a strong, it says door, but I think they mean odor. I stopped, and it smelled like a fresh, washed dog that had rolled around in garbage for a week. I heard a light rustle to the right, and as I turned to look, I saw a large black and red furred back of something facing away from me to the west. I could hear the creak about 30 yards ahead of the creature I was looking at. Its butt was a couple inches off the ground. It was hunched forward as some Saskatoon bushes, and it had a cone-shaped head that seemed to be sitting on its shoulders. And it was about 4 feet wide at the shoulders and about 5 feet high. And remember, it's squatting way down. It made no sound or movement, but when I thought to myself, what am I looking at? I was answered by a thought of, you don't see me. I'm not here. Wow. I wondered what I was looking at, and again, I got the same response. Suddenly, it quietly muttered a chattering sound, and when I heard it, the thought of get out of here now entered my head. Without hesitation, I started running towards the campsite, and as I did, I could hear a heavy thump, thump, thump sound run toward the creek and the sound of bushes being crunched. When everyone else got back, I asked if they had seen it or heard it, which no one had. I was told it must be a bear, but I said it didn't look or act like a bear, whatever I saw. And then a friend said, I must have seen a Sasquatch, and everyone laughed. I asked, what is a Sasquatch? As I'd never heard of nor seen the Patterson-Gimlin film. When they told me what it was, I said it was what I saw, and everyone laughed again. I started to read and learn as much as I could about them. I forgot to mention that the Sasquatch was about 30 feet away with an unobstructed view. Okay, so it wasn't like right next to him, but it was close.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was picturing. Okay, 30 feet.
Yeah, I was picturing it like right off his shoulder or something. Like, oh, it's just right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. It's a powerful sighting. Again, the mind speak is an incredible thing. I don't know. Is it possible that they have a very acute telepathy? I don't see why not. I don't know. They seem to have a robust language anyway. When you listen to the Sierra sounds and such, there's a complex order to whatever they're talking about. But I guess they must have the ability to telepathically communicate. And that seems really foreign to us, but if you listen to even like Caesar, the dog guy, he'll talk about how the pets, they are mirroring the state of a person that they're with. You know, so if you have an aggressive dog, that's a dog that's really uncertain because the person is really uncertain and not really in control. And that's why he tells people to have a calm, secure energy. And that's, to me, seems like a type of telepathy. And why not? I had an experience one time, and I guess I've only shared this maybe one other time on the show, but it was when I was really young. I was probably about maybe 9 years old. And I was in the woods behind our house, and right behind our house where we lived was a state forest. But it butted up to this bank that went up, and then there was a bit of a plateau, and then it went up into the forest. And I was up there, and I'd just gotten like a BB gun, or so we had a BB gun. I think me and my 3 brothers all just had a BB gun, and well, I was using it that day. And being a kid, I just wanted to shoot at things. And so I found this place where all these chipmunks were hanging out. And it was right on that bank off to the side of our house, maybe about 50 yards away from the house. And I was sitting there, and interestingly enough, something really weird happened. And I marveled at it at the time, because it seemed to suggest that they knew. They knew something was up. And so when I sat there and had the gun just laying by me, they were literally 3 or 4 feet away, just coming out of their holes and doing stuff. As soon as I raised the gun, they never showed up. They hid until I lowered the gun and laid it down again. And suddenly they started coming out of the hole doing their chipmunk thing. And I was literally just feet away from them. But for some reason, it was like they were cued into the fact that I was going to try to plink one of them. And I was boggled my mind, because it's like, well, how can they know? How could they possibly know? And as an adult, when I think back on that, it's like, well, is that a form of potentially some form of telepathy, or is it an empathy of sorts? Do animals have a really strong empathy, which isn't really far from telepathy if you think about it? You know, if you're getting an emotional state versus actual words, that's not a huge leap either way. And so, but it just kept happening over and over. As soon as I picked up the gun, I was like, okay, the next one comes out, I'm plinking it. Never came out. And I'd sit there for like 10, 15 minutes, nothing. But as soon as I lowered that gun and just set it off to the side again, they'd start popping out. And it was just, it was like 5 or 6 times I tried. And every time I was aiming the gun, they didn't show up. They were just hidden. So I don't know what that means. And that's a bizarre story, I know. So forgive me. But they seem to have an impression of what my intentions were. And it's not like I verbally said, okay, I'm going to shoot the next one, and they understand English. It was all nonverbal, absolutely nonverbal. So is it possible that nature picks up those vibes empathically? You know,
I think that's exactly what, personally, I think that's what it has to do with. Like, as far as when you're in tune with nature, in a sense, you hear more than you should, or that you would otherwise. Like,
sure.
What links it to me is the instance that trees can't hear anything. They seem like they're kind of in their own bubble, in their own existence. But as far as the experiment goes, if you're going to cut down a tree, there's a response to them with that MythBusters experiment.
Oh yeah, the stress response after the guy came in and brutalized him. They didn't have eyes to see, but they knew the minute he entered the room, and it was measurable. Like, they could measure it. And so that was on MythBusters, folks. It's not just a wives' tale of any kind. They had an experiment on MythBusters back in the older show days, where they had a room full of plants, and 3 of the people went in. One person went in and spoke lovingly and kind to all the plants and tended to them and watered them, and the other guy was kind of indifferent. And then the third guy went in, and he just started hammering one plant. He took like a stick and was just thrashing it and had all this malintent for that plant. They went back out, and all these plants were measured for some kind of electrochemical response, and they were all wired up. And as soon as the loving person came in, they had a real calm energy and seemed to be, I don't know how would they say it, but for both the other two, it was benign for the guy that was benign. When the loving woman came in, they seemed to be anticipating that she was there. But as soon as that guy came in that thrashed that plant, all of those plants in that room had an electrochemical response of stress. And so how? And it suggests that there's an intelligence to the nature around us. It's just, maybe it's what the shamans have been teaching us for, thousands of years, that nature observes, nature can teach, nature can show you. And I think that's beautiful. I think it's absolutely profound and amazing. So, I mean,
it's kind of like a mirror into what could be happening with what we're talking about.
Sure.
The shamans back then were talking about how to respect nature, that there's an energy to it, there's a consciousness type of thing.
Right.
And then for thousands of years, people are like, they're just dumb trees. And now we're able to measure these responses that mirror what the old shamans were saying. And
Sure.
that could be exactly where we're at, where we're talking about all these things. And a lot of people think maybe we're crazy or that we're, they're not in line with what we think. But maybe at some point we can develop a technology that's, there is something to what they're saying type of thing. Maybe.
Sure.
Could be.
And maybe it's through, meditation. Maybe it's in ourselves, in our connection, that we have to restore our connection to that natural energies around us. But very cool story. And interesting. So Mindspeak, it's a thing. Next report is also from Sasquatch, Alberta. What's funny?
Rachel, see, I put those carrots in their place in my tummy. Crunchy crunch. Sorry.
Wow. It's carrot side. All right. Number 38, close-up encounter near Coleman. And this is a visual sighting reported by Confidential. They don't want to let people know. 19 kilometers north of Coleman from 2006, sort of October of 2006. It says, I was hunting 19 kilometers north of Coleman, Alberta, and it was late afternoon, early evening. I moved up the mountain following a game trail through heavy brush, tracking some elk in the area, when I came upon what I thought was a very large black bear in the brush about 30 feet ahead of me. 30 feet seems to be a theme tonight, doesn't it? It stood up on two legs and turned to look at me when I realized it was not a bear, but a large, heavy-set animal with black face and no snout, ape-like in appearance. It looked surprised, but not scared of me. It backed away from me and disappeared into up the slope rapidly and reappeared shortly about 150 feet up the slope. It looked down at me and called at me with a weird screech that made my hair stand up, and it then disappeared quickly up the slope. I tried to go up a little further, but the slope was very steep, and I couldn't figure out how it was able to move up the hill so quickly. Shortly afterwards, a bunch of bighorn sheep came stampeding down the slope from where the thing had gone, and they looked terrified, but ran right past me in their haste. I decided to join them and made my way back, looking over my shoulder the whole way. I could have shot it, but I honestly didn't know what it was. I did not return to the area last fall because I'm no longer comfortable hunting in that area. I haven't told anyone, but I found one of your posters in the Kananaskis and thought that I should at least tell you guys about it. I'm an engineer in Calgary, so I don't want my customers to think that I'm a kook, but I know what I saw, and it wasn't a bear or someone in a suit. It was a real animal, and I think it was a Sasquatch. That's crazy. And
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it does. Yikes. They move so incredibly. I mean, just going up that steep slope, the guy couldn't follow. That's incredible.
Steep slope too, yeah.
Yep, very cool. And I love the visual reports most because hearing stuff can be ambiguous, and finding things like tree breaks can be ambiguous as well. It's not a certainty, but when you see something, that's more of a certainty. I mean, could you imagine anyone in hunting season running around in a Bigfoot suit? You'd have to be suicidal.
Oh yeah, that's so dumb.
You'd have to be absolutely devoid of any kind of working gray matter in your ears. That's just stupid. That's a good way to end up dead. But anyway, so I don't think it was a hoaxer. If this what this guy saw is he's an engineer. It's a practical kind of guy. So, all right, ASO report number 50. Witness comes face to face with a Sasquatch. Yikes. Visual sighting, footprints found. Confidential, again, vicinity of Jackfish Lake, Parkland County. It's from 2019, January 21st at 2 a.m. Wow. That must have been cold. ASO comments, the witness in this case had taken a long nap after work and was awake late into the evening the night following the super blood wolf moon in January. Oh my God, this is 2019. That's when I think, no, maybe not. Maybe it was like 2017 or 18 when I had a real bad time with the January blood moon. And went out to pace the driveway of his new property near Jackfish Lake while smoking a cigarette. While he was walking around under the moonlight night, he came within 20 feet of a Sasquatch partially squatting at the edge of his property along the wood line. It motioned its head slightly toward the witness and let out a low guttural growl when it realized it had been spotted. At this point, the witness stood there in shock, and after a minute or so, slowly backed off, not breaking his gaze with the figure, and retreated back inside his residence. The following day, he noted footprints crossing the range road leading to his property, where the creature crossed the fence and paced the edge of his property. That's interesting. I wonder why it was pacing the edge of his property. On subsequent evenings, the witness noticed other peculiar activity, such as the sound of objects being pelted against his metal shed. Yeah. Oh.
Sounds really upset.
Yeah. You know, you got to wonder, was that a Squatch? Was it a new property? Or it was a new property, but I don't know if it was a new development or was it an existing property that was new to him? Because, you know, perhaps that's the other part of this, you know, expansion. Everybody wants a house in the woods and stuff. And I understand. I mean, that's an awesome thing, but you know, something might have lived there before, and now it's got to deal with your lawn and your buildings and stuff. And it may actually change the life that they know. So maybe they have tantrums about it. Maybe they do things like this to try to encourage people to stay the hell away. A little late in the game, but I don't know. Very strange. Good report, though. Good report. So that's 3 Sasquatch reports. We got 4 minutes left. Oh, my God. What do we do?
I know what to do with the 4 minutes.
What?
I was curious if there were any new developments in Minnesota for any Sasquatch sightings.
Oh, you want to look at the BFRO?
I love that. I love the BFRO.
Yeah, it's a great site. Let's see what's coming up in Minnesota, if anything. No. I don't know if there's any. Most recent reports still 2020. I think we probably already read that one. Yeah, the one before that is 1997, 2018. These are all 3 Class A's. What county are you interested in?
Anything in, how dare I say, Washington?
Washington County? Or you mean
Sure.
Washington the state?
The county.
Okay, Washington County, there's one report on the BFRO site. It's literally, this is the report.
Oh, no. What is it?
September 1972. Oh, I guess I can click it. I guess that's what it is. Okay, it's from 1972. Summer, September, Minnesota, Washington County, Big Marine Lake, about 2 miles west of Corey's Swamp. Observed, I was bow hunting and just sitting in my stand looking around, and I walked about 75 yards away. It was a long time ago, and it walked about 75 yards away. It was a long time ago, and I did not know about Bigfoot at that time, and told my partner I had seen a swish bear because of the way it swung its arms and hands. And he just noticed it walk by. I was bow hunting from a tree stand. If I had known at that time what it was, I would have reported it. I do not know if this report will do any good, but it might help with travel pattern for them. And this place is not too far from the St. Croix River. Have there been many sightings in Minnesota? You know, there's a few. There isn't a bunch. Now, the thing with Bigfoot reports too is that for there to be a report, there has to be someone there to observe it. And I think that largely Bigfoot stay away from people. I think that maybe they're getting bolder as our encroachment expands and they don't have a choice. And so maybe that's one of the reasons we're getting more reports more recently. But I think it's also due to the fact that more people are talking about it than ever before. But there's lots of areas in this country where there's hardly anybody. You know, the Americas and, you know, North America and other places in the world are, you know, there's obviously huge population centers, but outside of that, you know, in rural districts, you can have, you know, a mile or two between a house, and you could drive a herd of elephants through there and nobody would see it, you know? So,
good point. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that there aren't reports in areas doesn't really guarantee that there isn't activity there. It's just that nobody has bothered to report it. And then you think, how many people have had experiences that they've never reported? And that's the thing that I really believe is there's a huge number of experiences for all of this stuff, the paranormal stuff, that people will never tell another soul about, or maybe just a select few, but they don't want to extend themselves out, you know, and to that public ridicule, or at least that public suspicion. And you can't blame them. I mean, people have careers, they have lives, they have, you know, peer groups, and if it got out that they saw a Bigfoot, a lot of people would be ostracized by some degree. So it makes sense.
Sucks.
It does. You're right. It does suck. But, again, there has to be people to have reports, and there has to be a willing reporter. So that's two very critical elements that I think are missing. And that's where we get these holes, in these reporting sites. There's a lot of counties in Minnesota that don't have anything on them. But that's not to suggest there's nothing going on there. It's just nobody reported it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Rachel even says, yeah, my family dismissed my experiences.
Yeah, there you go. But that's it, folks. That's the end of the show. Just remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. We'll be back on Wednesday night for another live show. Hope to see you then. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Good night.